Hi everyone, how are you doing? Today we will be talking about the power of connections with people. I have with me Sabeen Jensen. Jansen, I don't know how to say it in her language, but she's from Belgium, and I met her in a conference in Sweden, and I wanted to document her journey and see how and has it changed to be connected with me on my Facebook. And then also her mother had wonderful experiences of connecting with me on my Facebook, and we I wanted to document this journey and the impact it has brought to her in her life and the life of other people, which because she has done a thesis on this subject. So let's see if we can learn from her. So hi everyone, welcome back. I met Sabine and her mother in a conference where I was speaking in Dubai, and I not in Dubai, in Sweden, and it was Yavle, and I had it was a large conference, relatively. I think 1,500 people were there, and I spent time with her, I got to know her, and then we connected on Facebook, which is normally in Europe used for people to connect people who do they really know. Normally, people just don't add random people. And her mother was kind enough to connect with me on Facebook. And I haven't seen her since. However, I have talked with her multiple times online. I don't feel like disconnected from her. I feel like I am connected with her uh, online, and I can message her whenever I feel like, and she messages me whenever she feels like. And she has given quite a few interviews, made a lot of videos since then. Also, did her thesis on planting trees in Pakistan of her master thesis, and that was a shocker to me. How did that happen? So I wanted to document this journey of hers and learn what she has learned and how she has grown and evolved herself in this online journey on Facebook. Welcome, Sabine. Over to you.
Thank you, Ian. So yeah, indeed, it's almost been 2 years now, I think, and it was really interesting because I was thrown into your online world quite quickly. You immediately made a little interview online, and I got a lot of friend requests, which I accepted because I had just seen your speech on how Facebook connects people, and I was quite impressed by it. So I decided to give it a go. And at first, I just talked to some people, and I had some online interviews, which was also a learning curve to learn how to improvise and just speak your mind without preparing everything in advance, right? And then at some point, you connected me with some tree planters. And in that conversation, where actually I was asking the questions, there was a kind of click. Well, they asked me, oh yeah, okay, so, we have this whole situation with the tree planting and all that, and we got into a conversation afterwards, after that interview. So what do you think? Do you have some advice? Do you have some ideas on how we could motivate more people to plant trees, how that could go a little bit more smoothly? And yeah, I tried to find a good answer to that, and I didn't have one immediately ready. So that's how it happened that I would do a thesis on that. That was also not planned. It just emerged from those conversations and my desire to do something for the climate, and realizing that Pakistan actually has a very bad situation with trees at the moment, and that there is, just under 5% or even under 2% of forest coverage in Pakistan, which could lead to huge problems in just one decade. Well, it already gives some problems of heat and floods, and some problems with agriculture. So yeah, I want to do something fast. So I did a 1-year master in cultural and social anthropology, and got some practical recommendations out of that I'm now bringing back to the people. So now I am making some videos and trying to give something back to the people that I interviewed and that talked to me and gave me a lot of insights on how they do tree planting. So all of that somehow came from that one meeting in Sweden, which was also totally not related to tree planting, but a completely different subject. So that's quite interesting.
So you did masters in anthropology and something more difficult name. What was it?
Well, yeah, social and cultural anthropology. It's
Okay, so can you
supposed to be
explain
a
me what is
practical
social?
approach.
Yeah. Can you explain what is this social anthropology?
Yes, anthropology is the study of different cultures. So it's not just sociology, where you mostly research more Western cultures and you go into different kinds of companies and you look at the culture of companies. Well, anthropology also does that, but they would look at people of different backgrounds. So it is especially focused on different ethnicities and different backgrounds, and it tries to find ways in which certain conflicts can be resolved by better communication.
So can you go a little bit deeper on problem solving through communication, because that's fundamental of what my work.
Yeah, quite often you would have a certain conflicts where the best example is time. Imagine you have a certain deadline and you ask your colleague, oh, could you get this done by Friday? Then everyone would have immediately a certain image in their minds of what would be the right way to approach this. So in certain cultures, if you say, oh yeah, okay, I will try to get it done by Friday, then at Friday at 9 o'clock, the certain document will be on your desk. And if you just give it at 10 o'clock, people will already frown and be like, okay, what happened? How come you're so late? Did something happen? While in other cultures, it's perfectly normal if you say, "Oh yeah, I will get it to you by Friday," and somewhere Monday morning, you call and say, "Yeah, it's almost done. I mean, I certainly will have it done by the evening. This will still be fine." And then in this case, it is quite important to say, okay, so if you say, I will try to get it done by Friday, what do you expect will happen? And it turns out that if you make this obvious for everyone and you have some conversations on this, you can work together more smoothly and you have less conflicts at the workplace.
Can we use this science to compare how people live in Belgium and similar weather in Pakistan, in certain parts of Pakistan? Can we do a comparison on that and see how would that help if we were to do that?
Well, yes, certainly. Different cultures have different solutions for common problems. So I'm thinking of a good example right now. But definitely, for example, food is a good example. Certain crops are popular with certain people, and in Western culture, we're Western practices um, we're quite focused on monoculture, and we're doing a lot of crops one at a time. And this makes sense in the Western framework, where you say, okay, we try to understand everything apart. We try to understand how the grain works, we try to understand how the corn works, and we will grow it apart. In indigenous cultures, for example, the same crops like corn would be grown with companion plants, so with other plants. So then you would grow corn, but you would also grow beans, you would also grow squash at the same time. And in those cultures where they have more holistic mindsets, it is seen as more normal to grow plants together because they can support each other. And then you can say, okay, like imagine that we have the same climate. We could see, okay, what are the comparative results of that kind of growing corn and our kind of growing corn? And then you can pick and choose from these elements of other cultures and see what would work in our context. Often it doesn't make a lot of sense to take something as a complete package from another culture, but you can take some elements and say, oh, this could also work very well in my life.
So how does communication changes the social structure of a society?
Well, for example, when you greet someone, the way you greet someone already has different consequences in different cultures. In certain cultures, it's seen as normal that you would always greet the elders. So the youngest person needs to greet the older person. And if you don't do that, you will immediately give an implicit message, oh, I don't respect you, or I don't find you that important, or you probably did something wrong. While in other cultures, it's seen as normal that you just greet each other regardless of who has what stature or age. And it's just seen as rude to not greet someone you know. So if you have different cultures, this has, of course, implications because you're giving a message whether you want to or not. There is something in communication that's very important, and that is that you cannot not give a message. Everything you do or don't do is communication. If I would just sit here and not answer your questions, I would not do anything, but this would communicate something very clearly. So in that sense, it's very important to know the rules of a certain culture to make sure you're giving the right kind of implicit ideas to people.
So would you say that your communication, which you did between the culture of my country and culture of your country, was part of this social anthropology in a 2.0 maybe, digital communication instead of physical communication?
Well, it certainly has a big impact. There are two parts in this. One is the culture and other is the online culture. I'm certain I would have had a different kind of study if I would have been there in person. Because I would have seen more of the context in which that people live. If you talk to people online, you only get to see what people want you to see. And this is, in one way, a limitation. In another way, it can make things easier. So I can more easily talk to different kinds of people than I would face to face. The online aspect of research was quite important since I did my entire research online, and people are often confused. They think when I say I researched tree planting in Pakistan that I was there physically taking the trees and putting them in the ground and talking to people there. That is the assumption people have. But in this case, also due to COVID and all that, I did it online. But I also think this made my research stronger because I got to talk to a lot of people from all over Pakistan instead of one certain region. And talking online, I learned that there are, of course, certain differences, that you have to be very sure that you're giving the right kind of messages with your first presentation, the way you send your first messages. This is the thing people base their image of you on. You don't have the immediate reaction of people's facial expression when you send them a message online. So that is one thing that is more important when you have online communication versus face-to-face communication. You don't have as much non-verbal cues. You generally only have the face, you don't have the posture of people, you even often don't have the hands, which in certain cultures can give a lot of clues. So it was a learning curve again to see, okay, what works, what doesn't work, how do I need to speak? Often it is more important to speak very clearly and to pay a lot of attention to your pronunciation when you're talking online. And I know that you're also doing a lot of work with that to help people to speak in English. So I think that was a very interesting experience, and I hope also that doing my research online will make it easier to disseminate the results, to make sure that a lot of people can get some feedback on what they do with tree planting, get some inspiration. I already got several people that told me, oh yeah, okay, with your video, I'm going to try out all the advice that you gave, and I'm going to try to plant more fruit trees, and I'm definitely going to contact more of the local people when I plant trees. So that's the nice things. You get more immediate feedback. You get faster interaction between people versus face-to-face research. Quite often, people would not read your research. They would not get access to your results. And I think this makes it more equal. So people can immediately give me some feedback. They can say, oh, you made this video, but why didn't you talk about this superpopulation, or have you already heard of that? And I think that's very interesting and can certainly in the future make this kind of research more accessible and more immediately useful for people that participate in it.
Maybe your PhD should be on this subject then. So coming back to the journey, do you remember any interesting inbox messages or any accidents which happened, which shocked you initially about the interactions going on social media, or when you connected me? I must have warned you that you will get a lot of messages and friend requests. So how was this? How did your ego or your mind react to that? All this new interesting messaging and friending and everything.
Well, several things changed since the beginning. I have to say, in the beginning, I got a lot of questions to help people directly, people that asked me about psychology and asked me about some advice in that direction. And that was a little bit challenging because online it is more, it is a little bit more difficult to have the same kind of interactions as you have face-to-face as a therapist. So that is something that I'm still working on. But then I found my a good niche where I could help people, and that is with the tree planting. So I think that is one of the most important things, to narrow down a focus where I can support people and where I think that my specific viewpoint could be useful. Another one was to get to know the way in which people speak in Pakistan, which is different from in Belgium. For example, we would not call strangers sisters or aunts or anything like that, or even dear. So that's terms of endearment are something I think typically from Pakistan. And at first I was a little bit shocked because it felt a bit too personal from people that I would give me all these names and they don't even know me. But then I understood that, okay, this is just something they always do. And when I got to know people a little bit better, I would say like, oh, can you just call me by my name and not say man or dear or any other word for me. But I think that's, that's just the way in which we learn to talk to people from different cultures. They also learned that in Belgium, this is less common, and often people would then adapt the way they talk to me and just use my name. And those are those little things that, along along the road I would get used to, and I would just automatically start to do. Um, yeah. Besides that, I think it's also the way in which you would more openly ask people a question, or give some request, or there is a little bit more openness, I think, in Pakistani people in um, talking to people they don't know yet. I don't know if that's just because they're connected to you, Ryan. It could also be the case that you just select those people, or that they already, you know, changed their mindset and are now more open. But that was something that initially I would be like, oh, now I get a lot of messages from people and they say like, oh, you start 10 nurseries in Pakistan. That was one I got a few days ago. Or, you know, you should really plant for every one of your birthdays, you should plant the same number of trees as your birthday. Or, yeah, okay, I mean, they know I'm doing things with trees, so that makes a lot of sense. But this asking people to do something for you, or just to do something, that would be kind of weird to do in Belgium. I would just not talk to the people anymore if, like, without knowing me very well, they would be like, "Oh, you know what you should do? Go buy a cat. You know, cats are nice. Go buy a cat." I'd be like, "I don't even know you. You're giving me advice. This is strange." So yeah, these are a few of those little things that I noticed and might be normal in Pakistan, but are a little bit strange from my context.
Okay, so can I explain on that so you can know, since you brought it up? So the first one is that if we take name of the person, if it's a girl, they get insulted. So if you were in Pakistan and if I would call you Sabeen, how are you? I would probably get like, how dare he took my name? In wedding cards, the girl's name are not even written. So it's your wedding and your name is missing from there. It's like the daughter of certain person and the granddaughter of certain person is getting married. This is still the majority. It's not. It doesn't happen in. Well, it does happen sometime in my family also, my tribe, I would say. And sister, calling a sister is kind of like, because every girl in our country feels that everyone is out there to flirt with him. So every guy in Pakistan is apparently a flirt in their mindset, and they cannot talk normally. They have an ulterior motive in order to have a conversation with them. So when you say hello sister, it's like, okay, I'm not interested because you cannot marry your sister. So that's kind of the context of hello sister. I have started to say it because I'm forced to do it. I don't even say hello to women over here. I'm scared, what that hello might imply in their mind. Like, oh, this guy is a big flirt. So this is kind of weird here. Second, that's why probably you have rarely seen any photos with women in Pakistan with me here, because I don't even take photos with them. I don't say hello to them. I just stay away from them. The second part is about telling. In our country, everybody makes their business that everybody else's business is their business except their own business. So it's very common to tell everyone, this is what you must do, this is what you must do, this is what you should do. It's like, who the hell are you? But it's like, you have no clue who I am, what do I do, just like you were saying. But it's very, 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 very common. And I don't like it, of course, but that's how they are. Somehow they accept this as a norm. A lot of young ones don't like this, but still they just shut up because that's what they're used to and they don't know what to do. They're confused. Uh, and the third one is, yes, they are motivated by a free laptop sometimes or by homework which I give to them. So you feel that they're reaching out to you, but basically they are being forced to reach out so that they can engage in conversation from around the world, so that they can learn how to communicate. They can learn how to, like you were saying, you have such a different culture, and here there's a certain culture of it because they have never had an interaction with somebody from different cultures, so they don't even know how to interact. So it's a form of teaching which I'm doing, which they have no idea this is what is happening to them. And but that's what basically is happening. They're literally like traveling from Pakistan to Belgium or other parts of the world by having communications through this. Here is one example. This woman, every time she comes and she tells me what to do with my life. I have blocked her somehow in my one of my account, but somehow she found another way. And I don't even know if it's a woman. She never replies. It's like a bot just commenting that I will go to hell, and I by having these conversations and doing whatever. Look, just like you're saying, no equal rights for women here. And she's like, I feel extremely angry woman from inside. Maybe you can have a conversation with this woman because she would be a very good case for you as a psychologist. But I know just a lot of people tell you what to do with your life as if it was their business. That's very common. Uh, what else should I ask? What haven't I asked?
There are many questions we haven't asked. It depends what would still be useful related to this subject. But I will first comment to what you just said. Maybe that would be a good start. So I think that's a difficult subject, and I've also been very careful on that because women's rights in Pakistan, of course, is something on which there are a lot of papers written and which is a subject that, that is also important, but I haven't done any research on that, and that's why I don't talk a lot about it, even if I've done, I think, one Facebook Live about feminism. But I can imagine that it's... that's a fly, I'm sorry. I can imagine that it's harder for people that feel that, okay, I don't have the same opportunities as other people online that they can see. So that would be the other side, I think, of traveling online. Sometimes you say, oh, I prefer the situation in another place. And that could probably give a lot of frustration. And people that are frustrated, people that are angry, it is very common that they don't direct it to the people that actually really deserve it only, but just have some kind of generalized anger. And we have a word for that in psychology and would say that, okay, you're just, I don't know how to translate it into English, but basically you are mirroring it on someone else. So you are just, taking your issues and dropping them in the lap of someone else. So those issues, they could be very real, they could be very legit. Maybe she indeed doesn't have the opportunities that other people have, or she feels very limited. And still it can be completely the wrong way to express it. So that's something that, as a psychologist, I would say your anger is probably very legitimate. You probably have very good reasons to feel why you feel this way, but maybe this is not the best solution we can find for this. Maybe there are other ways to express this in a more healthy way. And that's probably what I would say. So maybe if this person is listening, this could be useful. Or if other people feel this way, this could also help them. So yeah, this is one thing. Of course, there are a lot of very good advantages to getting to know other cultures. You see other ways to do things. You find other solutions to common problems. And sometimes you say, okay, I see other ways to do this and I prefer them, but I don't exactly know yet how I can apply this in my own life. So then this would be the challenge to say, okay, how can we get closer to that goal here right now and take little steps instead of saying it should be like this here too. You can say, okay, where is it already a little bit more like this, and how can we have more of this? So I hope this helps someone.
So I would never blame anyone. I would never say that it's their fault, but it is how it is, and there are lots of reasons why there are things the way it is. It's not that it's a wrong or right is not my concern. It's different. They're just different. They have learned different things. They have agreed to different social norms. They have agreed to social this differences. So I don't judge people. I'm not here to judge them. I am just interested in having a dialogue. So if somebody has a problem with me, there is a way to have a communication respectfully, without engaging with my ego, without engaging with my, my amygdala to make me angry. And then when you're angry, you're not there anymore. You're just gone.
Mm.
So that engagement of conversation does not exist because nobody teaches that. It's in a tribal community, as you know, being the strong one is more important than being the right one is important. So it depends, who you are talking to, how much interaction they have had, how much education they have had. And education, by education, I don't mean a degree, but real world education of communication. And that's what is, to me, is the fundamental problem in our society and other societies in the world where there are problems is that people judge a lot of things, people assume a lot of things, people don't communicate because of mistrust, and that mistrust leads to a lot of destruction. So the solution, in my opinion, is to communicate, build trust, that trust builds economies, that economy builds, the educational system, and the whole cycle starts. So, in my opinion, everything as human beings, our first thing is to communicate, and we need to, as now we are living in a global planet, we're very highly interconnected. It was not like this 10 years ago. We are ultra connected, we are hyper connected, we are always connected. Like I was mentioning about you earlier, that if I feel like I want to say hello to you, I can say it, and it doesn't cost me anything except my time. It doesn't, and I get a reply from you. It's you're like next door. So I live in a house where I have 6 children, and we're communicating on WhatsApp. Even with my children, like, here you go. I have just asked my daughter, can I have a tea? So this is how we now live. It's a very different lifestyle than we used to have, and it's changing. So she cooked this food today, and she's asking if you would eat it, if I should bring it to you upstairs, or you would come downstairs to eat it. I'm just saying the whole social fabric of communication has changed, and majority of us have not adopted it. One, second, if they have adopted it, it's not comfortable to them. It's not there, like they feel invaded. That WhatsApp is watching what's happening, Facebook is watching what's happening, so they don't. So it's the whole communication is changing, and I feel that if we were to change and teach people how to do this kind of communication, and then they can choose to use it or not. First, they should know how to do it. It's like learning to read and write. We teach people reading and writing. It doesn't mean they will read and write. It's something which we teach at school. It doesn't mean everybody is going to go out there and do a master's degree or a PhD because they know how to read and write. It's just a tool to be able to learn. Similarly, today, if you don't know how to communicate properly on these text messages, like if somebody sends me a voice message now, I block them. I don't have any interest in talking to strangers on voice. I don't have time for even a minute to listen. I get so many. So I request them nicely, can you please text me? If they don't, bye. I can't. It's just too much. So, but they get upset because how dare you? You blocked me. And then yesterday I got a cuss word by someone because I added him on a WhatsApp group by mistake, and then I removed him. And before I could explain myself, I got, you the hell, blah 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 blah. So all these new technologies are creating giant amounts of confusion for people, and because the older generation or the people who are adopters to these technologies don't understand, they feel that it's a big challenge. And this technique which I use to make friends and communicate allows them to learn Facebook, learn Messenger, learn WhatsApp, learn StreamYard, learn to communicate over video, learn to make friends online, so they can start living on the internet instead of living in a small village in Pakistan or in Belgium. And it's not just in Pakistan, it's also, I'm sure, in Belgium, people who don't want to use Facebook or WhatsApp or internet, or ATM machine for that matter, they would still be there, and because it's all happened in the last 50, 70 years. If you go and talk to your grandmother, I think she would have different opinions than you have, just because we grow up in a different mindset. If I'm wrong, please do correct me. I don't know. I haven't met your grandmother. So yeah, you want to add something to it? It's nice to learn and have this interaction, by the way, with you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, you told me a lot of things right now. So where can I begin? Indeed, online communication, it has its own challenges and advantages. And it's not something that we're born with. It's not something that we have some automatic intuition for. It's just a different media where we have to learn how to use it to our advantage. And as you say, that's something that comes with practice. It's something that comes with trying things out and finding out that one thing doesn't work, but another thing does work. And especially for an entire country, it takes some time to get these new social norms, what is okay to interact with and what isn't. And that takes some time. For example, I was also wondering, okay, if I would be in Pakistan, probably physically there would be some requirements of what I would wear, how I would move around. So, and online, how does that work? Does it apply to me then? Yes or no? Am I now in Pakistan, or are you here? So this is the thing. It is not the same kind of space, and we are so used to, well, at least here, my generation here is so used to hopping online, offline, and it has become so merged. You can't say, oh, now I'm online and now I'm offline. Most people are never offline anymore. The only question is how much are you where? So like you say, you're at the same time messaging with your family, and probably a lot of people that are listening right now, they're also having some separate conversations at the same time. So this has huge consequences for our brain, right? Because in normal interactions, we would only see each other and we would see the same context. When you're talking online, you're not seeing the context the other person is sitting in. You don't know what other conversations the other person is having. And that has, of course, some consequences. So, for example, if I do research online, one of the things that they recommend is to ask people to describe their context. Where are you sitting? Can you show me the room? That's something that quite often happens, so that you know, oh, okay, so this person is sitting here with some other people. For example, I also do a lot of I work with clients online, and then it has already happened that a client of mine, while we were in therapy, suddenly was saying, oh, but my little kid just asked me something. He or she is sitting right next to me right now. And I was like, but we were talking about couple problems. Isn't this like a slight... Is this right that your kid is sitting next to you when you're talking about your couple problems with me? So you have completely different context, and you need to learn what works and what doesn't work. Now I always ask, are you in a comfortable place? Are you sitting here alone? Before I even start. So I think for everyone that has a more complex conversation that they want to do online, be aware that, there are some differences there, and that people still need to be comfortable to talk to you.
Right. All right. So, what led you into writing a whole thesis and paper of your master's on growing trees in Pakistan?
Oh, well, like I said before, it's partly due to those conversations I had with people, and I found out, okay, there is like a real problem where I could maybe give some suggestions that could be useful. So that is one thing. I wanted to do something where it could be useful for people. The other part is I really wanted to work on climate adaptation, because we're already feeling the negative effects of climate change right now. Now in Belgium, there are huge problems with floods. We had so much water in the last few days that entire villages are underwater, which normally never happens in Belgium. So everyone is very surprised and confused. I know in Pakistan this has happened a lot, especially some years ago. But in Belgium, normally we never had those problems. So this topic is becoming more and more urgent. And climate adaptation is something where, we really need to step up our game and make communities, make cities that are more resilient and that are more autonomous and less reliant on supply chains that can be interrupted at any moment. So there are many things that can help to be more resilient and to be prepared for future disasters that are certainly coming with climate change, and hopefully mitigate the worst of it. So completely avoiding it, that's probably not possible anymore, but we can certainly make sure that the planet remains livable and that, the children and grandchildren that come after us will have a healthy life on this planet. And that's why trees are one of the easiest and the cheapest ways to improve the environment, to make sure that we have more food security. If you plant nut trees, fruit trees, they can help to improve the soil. They can help to connect people. They can do so many different things that are necessary right now. And that's why I decided to focus on tree planting and Pakistan, because, the situation is even more urgent than in Belgium or in Europe in general. And that's why I really wanted to do that. I hope my results will be useful for some people. And I'm also thinking of finding other ways to transmit it more. The videos, like you said, is already one way, I think, to reach more people, because more people would watch a video of 5 minutes online than they would read an entire thesis, all right? It's quite normal and logical. That's my motivation behind this.
All right, thank you so much, Sabeen, for all this work you did, and I hope you get A++ grade, 100% marks in your thesis.
I got a good grade. I'm already graded. It's accepted. I have my title. I finished my anthropology master's.
Congratulations. So now we must work on your PhD on how adding 500 friends changes people's lives. So you can write about this PhD. And
we'll see.
You're saying that it's a good job, they pay you to study, so why not?
That is a good advantage.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sabeen, and I would like to request you for another small session where we can discuss the weather and the living lifestyle of people of similar weather. If you have still got time, we can do it right after this. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and do make her your Facebook friend, or at least follow her. Inbox her your small little introduction so she can see how and who are you. And don't add me on Facebook or inbox me your number. That's not something nice to do. I get messages every day. Oye, send me your WhatsApp number. I'm like, that's pretty strange, but I don't know how to react even anymore. So thank you everybody for watching. Have a blessed day. Have a wonderful Eid for you guys, and see you soon.
Poverty, disparity, malnutrition, health problems, lack of opportunities, lack of jobs. These are the problems we saw all around us, and we wanted to take an action to solve them, as God helps only the ones who help themselves. We started ventures that will help to reduce these problems from the planet. For education, we created Rehan School, empowering 2 billion people who struggle to even read their own name in any language. Then we created Rehan University with a goal to allow people to learn from anywhere in the world, from the best minds of the world. Then we made Rehan Training, giving people skills to learn again from the convenience of their internet connection. For health, we created Rehan Health to create awareness videos on how things affect human beings and how we can reduce these effects. For opportunities, we are working on creating 100 open source business models that people can take franchise of for just $100 and make minimum of $300 a month. We want everyone in the world to be able to have an opportunity to make enough money for themselves and their families to not be desperate to look for sources that are harmful to other human beings. We are Rehan Foundation, empowering humanity.